Welcome back to another edition of the Pittsburgh Sporting News videocast. I'm Michael Waterloo, joined by Mr. John Penline. We may be having Mr. Daniel Dudley, who I think is adjusting to the West Coast time because he is still asleep, I believe, so he may be joining later. John, how's it going?
Well, it's great. How are you?
Doing very well, my friend. Doing very well. We have an abbreviated show today, about 45 minutes, because I have a fantasy hockey draft, which I've done zero research for. Let's get started with our player of the week, like we do every week, and we're going to go with Russell Martin this week. He hit 417 with 423 on base and 625 slugging, 9 RBIs, 1 homer, 2 doubles, and 10 hits. And John, that leads us to a comment on our Facebook page. People said, "Oh, the Pirates are making this late season. Raiders wonder right about whether the Pirates can re-sign Russell Martin or not, looking at the negatives." Well, that's kind of a big deal. That's something that you want to look forward to in the offseason to see the Pirates are going to pony up and pay Russell Martin because every indication given to us by Neil Huntington is that the Pirates are. Do you think there's any chance that Martin returns as a Pirate next year, John?
I think if he comes back, it's going to be more or less on his own accord. I don't think it's going to be based on a contract. I don't think the Pirates are going to give him enough money for him to re-sign if he's looking for the big bucks, which he probably is because he's in his early 30s, approaching toward kind of the twilight of his career. And I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that could use a catcher. There's a lot of teams with big payrolls that could use a catcher. The Dodgers, both Chicago teams. I mean, those are big markets, and I mean, even the Phillies. I mean, they're certainly no stranger to loading up big contracts for veterans. So I think if it comes down to the money, which it probably will, I don't see the Pirates re-signing Martin. But I mean, if they can go on a little bit of a run here, maybe he would want to come back. But no player in their right mind would ever want to really turn down a big contract just to stay with one team, especially in baseball where guys are constantly moving around. I mean, the Pirates theoretically could re-sign Martin to a huge deal, have a bad year, and end up dealing him next summer. And I just don't think he wants to deal with any of that. I think if LA came knocking and they said we're going to give you 15 million a year over 5 or 6 years, I think he'd jump on that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I agree. I expect him to go to Chicago. Well, that's just where I think it makes sense, I guess I should say. Not that I expect him to. I just think it makes good sense for him to be there. So we want to thank John Minoki for leaving that comment on our Facebook page to have us bring that up. And while we're on the Pirates, John, let's continue to talk about them. And they played very well this past week and a half or so after getting swept by the Cardinals. They swept the Cubs, winning 4 in a row, took 3 or 4 from the Phillies, and now have a chance to take the series today against the Cubs. Is this? I feel like we talk about this every week, but is this saying a lot about the Pirates, or is this saying a lot about the competition that they're playing, and they're just kind of beating up on the very, very, very bad teams, and they can't really do anything against the good teams?
I don't know. This year, it's like that extra wild card spot is almost made for them because they have a lot of talent, but they're still they're an above average team to me. I mean, they have good pitching, not great starting pitching. They've got an okay bullpen, although really at this point, I just don't think the bullpen's being. I don't think the bullpen's very good right now. I think if you have a one-run lead in a close game or one-run lead in a very important game, I mean, I don't know how you would go into that game and not think, oh my God, like how is this going to end? Whereas last year they were almost automatic after the seventh or eighth inning. Um, I mean, they've got a lot of talent in the lineup, but it can be kind of inconsistent. Other than Andrew McCutcheon, Neil Walker's had his ups and downs. In the last couple of months, Starling Marte's been good, but he keeps getting hurt. I think it's a good but not great team. I could see them making the wild card and losing in the wild card play, and I could see them making the wild card and winning in the wild card play-in because they've beaten the Dodgers and the Giants this year. But I think overall, you know, a- as far as the ceiling goes, I'd probably put them right where they were last year, which is in the NLDS with a chance to maybe make it 5 games, depending on who they're playing.
Do you still think the Pirates grab that second wild card over the team like the Atlanta Braves, who I know have been reeling as of late, but to me, they're just so much more talented on paper, the Braves. I just don't know why. Again, that's on paper.
Yeah, I mean, the four-game series next week is going to be really scary because the Pirates typically don't play Atlanta very well at all, and I mean it's a four-game series. I mean if the Braves even take three out of that series, the Pirates are on the outside looking in. Um, so I don't know. I don't have a very good feeling. I hope I'm wrong. I usually am, but I just don't see it. I mean, there's just so many times this year where they've had a chance to win a game and they found a way to lose it. And last year they weren't that team. They were a team that tried to find every way to win, and they usually did. Um, so it's going to be tough, but certainly not impossible. I mean, the Braves, they have a lot of talent, but I just, as far as the National League goes, there's just not a lot of good teams. I mean, even the Dodgers have their share of holes. The Cardinals have actually been really strong as of late, but other than that, I mean, the Nationals, I mean, they're up and down. They don't really have a closer at this point. The Giants are battling, but they really only have one starting pitcher in Madison Bumgarner. So I could see the Pirates definitely making the wild card, but I think it's going to be an uphill battle for them when they have to take on Milwaukee and Atlanta coming up.
No, I completely agree with you. That's going to be tough. I mean, this week they still get it easy with they have the Red Sox for 3 games, and the Red Sox, they have that name, but they're not that good of a team, and their best player, uh, David Ortiz, is probably going to sit for at least one or two of those games, I would guess, because he's not the best fielder in the world. He makes Pedro Alvarez look like the best defender in all of baseball whenever he puts a glove on his hand there. So yeah, I'm with you there. Can definitely see them making it. I don't have a good feeling either, but that's how I usually am. And like you, I'm also usually wrong when it comes to it. So we shall see. It's going to be very interesting to see. And John, because we talked before the podcast went on air, Carson Palmer is out today. For what it's worth, anybody setting your fantasy lineups. Drew Stanton is now the quarterback who's going to be throwing to Larry Fitz, Michael Floyd. So set your lineups accordingly. And John, let's get to some Steelers here. I mean, because I know baseball season's winding down. People are very excited. But on Thursday, depression hit the area as the Steelers got smacked around by the Baltimore Ravens. This is our first show since the Steelers won last Sunday also, so, you can look at it like that. They hung on, and they almost blew a big lead. They did blow a big lead, almost let Cleveland come back and win it. But the Steelers are sitting at 1-1. Sean Sweetson game-winning field goal last Sunday. Joe Flacco and Steve Smith tore the Steelers apart on Thursday. Which Steelers team is the real Steelers team? The one we saw Sunday, the one we saw Thursday, or one in between?
Well, I mean, I think they're an 8-8 team. I think the 1-1 is very appropriate for them. A lot of people said, well, they have a terrible schedule this year, so they should go 10-6. I don't see it that way. They're not a very good team. They're just not. I mean, they've made some strides on offense. I think the offensive line has looked a lot better. I think Ben actually looks a lot better. In the first two games, although he didn't really have a lot to work with on Thursday. But and they've got a little bit of a run game. They've got some talent. They've got some young guys, but the defense is just so bad. And I said this on Thursday night. Until they get a nose tackle that can do a lot of what Casey Hampton did, they're never going to be able to stop the teams. They're just not. I mean, Dick LeBeau's system is based on stopping the run and making you one-dimensional, and they just can't. They can't stop the run. They can't. Their defensive line was getting pushed back all night long. Jarvis Jones is kind of playing. I mean, I see the hair. I just don't see any plays. The only guy that really stands out to me is Ryan Shazier, and he's still learning. There are a couple, patterns that he got burned on, which is going to happen as a rookie. But this defense is just so bad, and guys like Breeze and Brady and Manning, they've always been able to get away with that. But
Mm-hmm.
Ben Roethlisberger, as good as he is, he's not that guy that's going to put up 400 yards a game and 4 touchdowns. He's just not that type of player. I mean, it doesn't mean he's not any good. He's not a good quarterback, but it just means that he's just not the type of guy that's going to go out there and play an arena football style. And So that kind of leaves you with the Steelers team. What are they going to do? I mean, I can't see them winning any more than 8 games, and I could definitely see them losing 10. I just the defense has been so bad, especially the last 6 quarters, and it might get a little bit easier depending on who they play, like with Tampa Bay. But I mean, later in the season when they have to play New Orleans, and Cincinnati, I mean, it's going to be tough for them.
No, I definitely agree. I I picked the Ravens to win on Thursday. I just didn't think it would happen like that. They just that defense has some serious issues, and people can say anything they want about the referees. I mean, yeah, were some of the calls questionable? Sure, whatever. But then you have that roughing the passer, which was by the book too in the first quarter. But Steeler fans were complaining about that, of course. And I find it funny after the game, people still complaining about Todd Haley, Todd Haley, Todd Haley. When I'm not a big blame getting guy, but if I am, it's to me it's on the players. And if you want to blame a coach, look at Dick LeBeau. Don't look at Todd Haley. His blitzes really aren't working anymore for me. I think they need to switch it up. And like you said, they need a nose tackle there until you get into the next Casey Hampton because Cam Thomas is just getting pushed around everywhere. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Who do they have next, John? Is it the
I believe they play in
Tampa?
Carolina next.
Yeah, play Carolina, which is a very, very, very tough defense, as we know. Their front seven, very, very tough. We'll see if Greg Hardy plays in that game after his domestic abuse charge, because it seems like to be the norm for the teams now just to get rid of those players. Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson suspended, but Greg Hardy is playing today. We'll see if he goes next week against the Steelers as well. We don't know that yet, but as far as people who have kind of stood out for you on the Steelers, who's kind of gone under the radar and impressed you? Marcus Wheaton, the way Le'Veon Bell has played, somebody on the defense.
Yeah, I mean, Bell's been pretty surprising because the offensive line too. I mean, it's not even that the offensive line has done well so far. It's that none of them have gotten hurt yet
Mhm.
because usually it takes about 5 plays into the season for somebody to go down. Marcus Gilbert is terrible. I don't know why they gave him a contract extension. I never will understand that. I mean, the Cortez Allen thing, I understand that they might be like taking a risk with him, but Marcus Gilbert is just awful. And it seems to me like he always gets injured halfway through the game and he leaves the game. And then next week he's out there starting again. He gets hurt again for another half of the game and he leaves again. I just never saw the fascination with him. But yeah, I mean, I like Le'Veon Bell a lot. I like Marcus Wheaton. I know a lot of people were saying, well, Marcus Wheaton's going to be a sleeper in fantasy football, and he's the number 2 guy. But I mean, when you really think about it, he didn't do a whole lot last year because he had the finger injury. But this year, he's really stepped up. I thought he's played really, really well. Kind of that second guy that so that they don't have to lean on Antonio Brown as much. And Bell. I mean, Bell has found the holes, and he's definitely shown off his athleticism. He might get killed one day trying to hurdle a defender, but
Yeah.
until then, I think he's been every bit as good as advertised. And I mean, they're not going to play Baltimore every week. They're not going to play a team that's amped up and desperate and trying to avoid going 0-2 in the division at home. So. At times, I mean, they might struggle next week against that defense in Carolina, but I think at other times, I think Le'Veon Bell is going to have his fair share of big games.
Yeah, he's just looked great, and I'm very surprised. I know we talked a lot in the offseason leading up to the opening day that we thought that the Steelers running back would be a little bit more of a timeshare. We thought we'd see LeGarrette Blount a little bit more. In the first game, I think he maybe had 3 touches, something like that. First one went for a touchdown. He vultured that from the Le'Veon Bell fantasy owners. But so far, Le'Veon Bell has just been that workhorse who is just going to touch the ball so often. And so far, I mean, it's still early. I'm not going to overreact to 2 games. But I'm looking dead wrong as usual because I said I don't like Le'Veon Bell. He's not a true back. He reminds me of Trent Richardson with the yards per carry. I think he's going to be a total flame and a total bust. Excuse me, but that's not working out in my favor so far. So we'll see, if he's able to keep this up, which looking at him now, I kind of expect him to, but I don't want to go back on my word that early. One guy I want to see 2 guys I want to see get healthy for the Steelers are Lance Moore. Put him in the slot because I have not been impressed by Justin Brown at all. He can't catch a cold. and I thought that was going to be Darius Hayward's Bay job to not be able to catch the ball when it hits him in the hands. But yeah, I want to see Lance Moore get healthy, put him in the slot, see how he fits into the Steelers' offense. And Dre Archer, he went down week 1. I still think Todd Haley has big plans for him to be kind of a gadget play type guy, and he's just exciting to watch. I still think the Steelers wasted a third-round pick on him, but when he's healthy, I want to see him on the field. Do you think either of those guys can make a impact for the Steelers on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that Lance Moore can. I agree with you on Justin Brown. I think a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, this guy's unbelievable! Look what he's doing in the third quarter of a second preseason game. He's lighting it up." And then he fumbles the ball. He's dropping the ball everywhere. I mean, he definitely has the talent. I mean, he definitely has. He can run a little bit. He's got some moves, but he's not ready. He's just totally not ready right now. They need Lance Moore to come back. And put him in that slot and give Ben, a veteran presence because they've got a lot of young guys out there, other than Heath Miller, who had a very uncharacteristic fumble on Thursday, but that was just kind of, at that point, he was just putting gas on the fire. But yeah, I mean, Lance Moore, I think Lance Moore will definitely help whenever he can come back.
Yeah, me too. I hope to see him out there soon. I like what he did in New Orleans. I think he can do the same in Pittsburgh. Obviously, playing indoors with Drew Brees is a little different, but he still has some talent, even though he's getting a little older. John, we did this last week. We went through some games and we just picked who we thought were going to win. So let's do that again today. The early games: Lions and Panthers. Lions at Panthers. Carolina, tough defense. Lions, amazing offense, contrasting the styles here. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions, though, to pull it out. How about yourself?
I'll go with Carolina. I think they're getting Cam Newton back, and a lot of people say that's not a good thing, but I think it is.
He's better than Derek Anderson for sure. So I mean, even though he's hurt a little bit, I'll still take him to do better than Derek Anderson, but I'll go with the Detroit Lions. Seattle Seahawks invading San Diego it's one of the late games today. San Diego blew another Monday night lead. Seattle looked dominant at home against Green Bay to open up the NFL season. I'm going to go Seattle because I hate Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, if you're taking the line, if you're looking at the spread, you'll probably bet against it or bet in favor of it. But well, depending on what it is. But I have to go with Seattle with the win. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, though, because Seattle's just kind of a different team when they play on the road. They're not nearly as good, but they're still better than the Chargers. And yeah, I can't stand Phillip Rivers either. I hope he gets pick six like 4 times.
I would be so happy with that. I hate Phillip Rivers. Not a good quarterback. Chiefs Broncos. It's not last year's Chiefs who played backup quarterback nonstop. Do I even have to ask? I mean, the Broncos are just going to whip them around, right?
Yeah, pretty much. On top of it, the Chiefs, they lost Derek Johnson last week, and he's their best linebacker. So
Mike DeVito, too, defensive lineman.
Yeah, so I mean that defense is going to be a mess, and really that's how they won all their games last year. And they lost 2 of their offensive linemen, which Jamal Charles found out, the hard way last week. He had like 20 yards rushing. I just can't see this being a close game.
Me either, not at all. Let's go to the Saints at the Browns. I am going to take the Saints, however, I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think it will be. The Saints are, like you mentioned, Seattle, a different animal when they're on the road. The Saints are a different animal whenever they play outdoors. That team is built on speed, built on playing indoors, just a track race with teams. But I'm still going to take them, though. I'm interested to see if Joe Hayden's going to shadow Marcus Colston, Jimmy Graham, Brandon Cooks, or if they're just going to kind of mix up their coverage a little bit.
I'm going with the Browns. People think I'm nuts. I don't like the Browns, okay, as much as I criticize the Steelers. I do not like the Browns, but I think they find a way to win. I think they make enough plays, and based on how they ran the ball last week, I think they'll be able to do it against the Saints. And I mean, Drew Brees is one hell of a football player, but if you look at what he does outside of a dome, or it's not as pretty. And I'm sure the Saints will probably come out and throw a quick touchdown or two, but I also wouldn't be surprised if if the Browns kind of got an early lead and tried to sit on it by running the ball a lot. I mean, they've got a lot of good running backs and they've got a really good offensive line. So I'll take Cleveland and eventually there will be a first place Cincinnati and a three-way tie for last.
I like it. Upset special there. I was going to go with the Vikings over the Patriots for upset special until the whole Adrian Peterson scenario happened, which we'll talk about soon. Falcons at Bengals. Falcons have a high-powered offense. Looked great against the Saints last week, but their defense struggles. Bengals, good defense playing at home. Andy Dalton is actually very good at home. I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm very high on the Falcons, but I like the Bengals this week to beat them. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, defense still wins in this league, and I think Cincinnati will be able to stop Matt Ryan long enough. He's lost two of his offensive linemen too, and I think Ryan will definitely get his share of touchdowns and his yards, but I think Cincinnati will be able to keep up.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Cardinals and Giants could be interesting. The Giants suck, but they are playing at home. They have their full roster. But the Cardinals, like we said, Carson Palmer's out. That lowers the value of Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd. Andre Ellington still dealing with that foot issue, even though he's going to play. And then you have the whole traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast, and the Cardinals are kind of on short rest because they played on Monday. I'm still going to take the Cardinals, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants knock them off.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals have a much better defense. Eli Manning is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew that the Steelers, when they picked 11th, they would end up with the best quarterback in that draft? But he really is. Roethlisberger, I think, is better than Rivers, better than Eli. Somebody wrote an article about how like Eli over the course of one off season has aged about 15 years because he can't throw the ball downfield anymore. So I've got to go. I've got to go with Arizona, even without Palmer playing. I think they'll be able to balance the run a little bit more, and I think they'll get Larry Fitzgerald involved, which this week won't help me at all. But I think that they'll find a way to kind of get Floyd and Fitzgerald going.
I'm just so concerned about that because Drew Stanton is not a good quarterback at all. He's so bad, and I have so much thinking to do between now and when it's time to set the lineups here. But
Yeah, but you know what? Like Carson Palmer to me really isn't that much better. I mean, when you think about a lot of the decisions he made last week, when you think about his arm strength, I don't know. Like, obviously Carson's better than Drew, but I don't know. I don't know how much he is because it's like a lot of the decision making that Palmer makes, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I don't know. I think that Bruce Arians is down there, right? So I wouldn't. I think he'll be able to come up with a game plan to at least get them to win. And yeah, just the Giants' defense is just really bad. Like I know that a lot of people look at Week 1 because and they gave up a ton of yards, but that is Detroit. But at the same time, the defense just isn't very good this year. And Eli is going to do some stupid things. He's going to give Arizona some short field, and if they can't throw it, they'll definitely be able to run it. So.
I'm kind of biased. I love Carson Palmer, so I can't really give a fair statement there. Taking the Packers, my lock of the week over the Jets. Bears of 49ers. There's a 75% chance, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, that Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey will not play. That being said, and plus with the offensive line, I think Jay Cutler might get killed tonight, and I'm going to take the 49ers to win at their home debut at Levi Stadium, I believe it's called, on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I think San Francisco puts up 40 points in this game. I really think it gets that bad. And there was an ESPN article about Jay Cutler and how it was like titled, why nothing is ever Jay Cutler's fault. And I definitely recommend people who aren't big fans of Jay Cutler to read it because it totally like shreds him to pieces. I don't really hate him that much. To me, he looks like a skinny, younger Alec Baldwin. But at the same time, yeah, it's just one thing after another. And I always think back to when he was playing for the Broncos, and he and Phillip Rivers used to go at it, and it was just like the wussiest fight I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, 49ers, I think, just destroy Jay Cutler. If Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall don't play, I think it's at least 35 points, maybe 40.
Yeah, absolutely love. I love Jay Cutler. Not this week, but overall, him, Tony Romo, Alex Smith, Mike Glennon, my quarterback, and Carson Palmer, my 5 quarterback loves. I'd take them on my team any day of the week. And let's go Monday Night Football. Big one for me, being a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Yes, I'm an Eagles fan. That does not mean I lose credibility here, Pittsburgh, like you have said before on the Facebook page, but you've said a lot before that we don't really pay attention to. So the Philadelphia Eagles take their high-powered offense and their horrible defense to Indianapolis to face another high-powered offense and another horrible defense. So who's going to prevail? I believe this is a stat. If I got it wrong, I'm totally sorry, but I get a lot of things wrong. Andrew Luck in his 2-year career so far has not lost back-to-back games in his career whenever he's heading home for that second game. I'm taking the Colts to win because the Eagles' second. I believe it's back-to-back games overall, but I haven't looked it up right now. But I know for a fact, at least whenever he's playing that second game at home after a loss, that he has not lost. And I'm going to take it. He plays so well indoors. I'm taking them to beat my Eagles. Their defense is just horrible. So, yeah, I like the Colts, and I actually have Andrew Luck over Drew Brees this week. John, what say you for the final game?
Well, as somebody who has Nick Foles and LaShawn McCoy, I hope it's 49-42, but
It should be. It should be a shootout. I mean, but usually those should be a shootouts will be 10-7.
right. It's like the two pitchers facing each other. They have a combined 13 ERA, and they end up winning, 2-1.
Yep.
But yeah, I see it the same way. I just don't see the Colts falling 0-2 to start the year. I mean, I think they play very desperate. Trent Richardson will still be god awful, but that's nothing new. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles got on top early, and then Andrew Luck came back because he just has a knack for doing that. He almost did it last week. So yeah, I definitely have to say the Colts though. I think they pulled out. In a close one, I think it's maybe a 7-point, 4-point game, something like that. But if the line is 50, you take the over for sure because these teams can't stop anybody. All they know how to do is score points.
Agree. And I hope the Eagles prove us wrong. I hope they just dump off a lot of passes to Darren Sproles and just let him go crazy. All right, and John, that's an interesting little tagline you have on your name right there. Can you read that for us?
Yeah, I'm just telling Pitt football fans that there's a storm coming in early October, and it's coming at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia. So they better buckle up.
That can't be because you're a Virginia Cavalier fan, could it?
No way. No way. It has nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Now, we were chatting a little bit via text last night about Pitt, about Virginia, about Oregon, of course. Oregon. But about how Pitt fans are talking a little smack, saying, "Oh, look who's 3-0. Pitt is. We're looking good for all the haters who doubted us." And I wrote back and said, "Okay, you guys beat what? Who'd they beat first week? Delaware, Boston College,
yeah.
and Florida International University, who gave them a little struggle yesterday. You didn't beat anybody." Yes, Boston College beat USC yesterday when they hosted them, but like I said to you, that tells me more about USC than it does Boston College. That tells me USC just, I'm biased again, I hate them, and I think they suck. But that's what it says to me right there. Do you put any stock in Pitt being 3-0, or is that, given the competition that they face, that's what they should be right now? There's no surprises there at all.
No, I mean they could go 10-1 this year. I mean, or 11-1 this year. They really could because so far the only ranked team they're playing on the schedule is Virginia Tech, who just lost to the ECU Pirates, by the way, at home. So it just drives me nuts. And it's like obviously I'm not a fan of Pitt. I want them to. I would love to see them play tougher teams, not because I want to see them lose. I do, but because I want to see good games at Heinz Field. I live 5 miles from Heinz Field. I would like to go to games. Last year I went when they played Florida State. It was a great game. Now, they got slaughtered, but it was good to see guys like Winston and everybody else play. And that's what I want to see. I want to see talented teams on the field. I'm not going to go see Florida International. I'm not going to go see Iowa next week. I'm not going to go see, North Carolina State. They suck. Now, NC State obviously is part of the, conference, but still, like I want to see good teams. And they do the same thing with basketball, and it drives me nuts. They're out of conference schedule. It's just such garbage. And then they wonder why they lose in the tournament later on because they actually have to play a good team, and they're not used to playing good teams.
Yep.
So to me, I would just love to see them schedule better teams. And don't tell me Penn State. I really don't want to hear about Penn State. Get somebody from the South. Friggin' West Virginia played against LSU a couple years ago. They played against Alabama the first week of the season. And as much as people want to give me crap about Virginia, they played UCLA. They beat Louisville yesterday. They have to play BYU on the road this upcoming week. They also have to play Virginia Tech. They have to play Florida State this year. It just play good teams. Next year they have to play Oregon. The following year they have to play Stanford. Pitt needs to get on board with this. I think Paul Chris is a hell of a coach. I would love to see him say, hey, let's bring in some schools that can actually play football. And even if we get crushed, those kids will actually have fun playing against teams that have a chance to win something.
And they have the talent with Wojtek, Boyd, and Connor for sure. I mean, they're so much fun to watch. I think Boyd's the real deal. Connor is, making people ask, Russell who? And Wojtek's learning slowly. I think he'll be fine. But, John, you said you live 5 miles from Heinz Field. Have you also been a season ticket holder since 1956?
Yeah. I remember seeing the Pirates at Forbes Field.
Congratulations. That's my favorite thing on sports talk radios when people. I remember I watched the Pirates play in 3 different stadiums, and I've held tickets for every single game, so I know what I'm talking about. Congratulations, sir. You are old, and you get to take that with you today, and that's all you get to take with you. John, we have about 10 minutes left because, like I said, very short show today. So I want to talk a little bit about the state of the NFL. And first, before we talk about the whole Ray Rice thing, the Adrian Peterson thing, Roger Goodell just kind of lying to everybody. What's your thought about last night, the support that Floyd Mayweather got all over Twitter for his fight? Everybody's like, the money team, of course, he's unstoppable, the greatest ever, go Floyd, I hope you win. However, those same people on Monday are saying, Ray Rice, I hope you get banned forever. You deserve to be in jail, you woman beater. Do people realize Floyd Mayweather has had multiple cases against him for beating women? He went to jail for beating women. Hypocrisy, much people. Is it kind of apples and oranges to you, John, or are you with me saying, if you're a hypocrite if you support one and hate the other?
I don't know. I mean, the sports you're talking about are so violent in nature. You need to be a violent person in order to play them, it seems. And I'm not at all condoning like what went on with with Ray Rice or Floyd Mayweather, but it really shouldn't be a surprise either. And I mean, if people want to walk away from the NFL, more power to them. Like, I'm not going to stop you. I believe in your principles. I believe in what in the stand that people are trying to take. But I mean, this has gone on forever, and it probably won't ever stop. Just because, how can you stop it? I mean, I think a lot of people think that like Ray Rice or Floyd Mayweather, they have a thought process when stuff like this happens, and I just don't see that. I think they black out. I don't think they know exactly what's going on. There's definitely an anger issue that needs to be resolved, but I just, I mean, what can you say? I mean, I don't know how you root for him. I don't know how you root for Floyd Mayweather after you found out that he beat his wife, because not every athlete beats their wives or their spouse, or their girlfriend or anything like that. So I don't know how you can become a fan of that. I'm a fan of players I can root for, guys like Troy Polamalu, Cam Newton after he stopped stealing laptops at Florida. That kind of, those kind of guys. But it's hard to root for people that cause bodily harm to innocent civilians, basically, because they're not, I don't consider being, when you're on the football field, I mean, it's every man for himself. But, I mean, out, in regular life, I can't really defend somebody who does that. I never defended James Harrison for what he did. And, it's very hard to root for those people. And I think I think it's also why a lot of people are kind of saying, yeah, I like the NFL, I like football, but I'm not as crazy about it as I used to be. And I think there's a lot of people that are saying that, and I'm one of them. I can't deal with all the arrests anymore. I can't deal with all the criminals that come out and they play, and it just makes it very hard to root for. And I think it is very hypocritical if you want to bash Ray Rice, but then at the same time you want to cheer for Floyd Mayweather. I mean, you can't have it both ways. I know that Floyd Mayweather didn't have one on tape, but it doesn't mean he didn't do that. So
Right.
it's very hypocritical. I agree.
It makes me very angry, and I I know I kind of gave you a lot of hell last year, John, because you said, "Oh, I hate the NFL." Every single person, with all the crime, with all the arrests, with everything like that. I watch it for fantasy purposes only, and I used to, just get on you like, John, come on, man, like that's why fantasy sports are kind of ruining it. Honestly, John, I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, I apologize for getting on you last year. I see what you mean now. I mean, it just makes me sick to see the constant arrest, the way that Roger Goodell tries to cover things up, which I totally believe he did with the Ray Rice situation, by the way. And if he did that with this, I just wonder what else he tried to do, whether it's Big Ben's thing, whether it's what we already know with Spygate, things like that. You just have to wonder what else during his tenure he tried to cover up for the betterment of the Shield, but not to protect the Shield, just to protect the image of the NFL and his image ultimately. And I'm right there with you. However, I will say, people are like, "Oh, I'm going to start. I'm going to stop watching the NFL. I'm all done. I give it up." You know what I'm going to do today? As soon as we're done, I'm going to watch the rest of this fantasy football show, see who's active, see who's inactive. I'm going to grab a nice cold beer, sit back on my chair, watch football for 10 hours today. Tomorrow night, get home from work, do the same thing. Thursday, next Sunday, Monday, repeat, 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 because to me it's entertaining. I'm going to watch it because it's something to do. I like watching the game. And, so many people are going to do that. Out of all the people who say they're going to boycott the league, guess what? You're not going to hurt the league at all because it's going to keep on going on. And if one or two people stop, I mean, good for you. I mean, if that makes you think you are a morally better person than me, congratulations. I'm going to keep watching football, and that's just how it really is. And I don't think there'll be a day I'll stop watching it. I really don't. As long as they keep playing the game, as long as these guys go out and risk their lives and bodies each week for my entertainment, I'm going to do it because, as you know, like I've said in the past, I don't really care about the game. I don't really care about who wins, who loses, unless it comes to the Oregon Ducks. I have teams that I pull for in each league. I pull for the Penguins, I pull for the Kansas City Royals, and I pull for the Philadelphia Eagles. I want them to win. If they don't, it won't ruin me. I watch sports because of the entertainment value. I want to be entertained. Whatever that means, I want it. I don't really care about anything else. If they go out there, I mean, I don't condone people like Ray Rice playing again, Greg Hardy playing. I don't condone that at all. But for the rest of the people on there, I'm going to watch it, and that's just kind of how it is with that. So we have about 5 minutes left, John. You want to get into another subject? Or you just want to do our finals and wrap it up?
Um, I mean, I think we're a little bit too early to start talking about the Penguins. So yeah, we can just go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, let me see. Before we do that, real quick, let me check our Facebook page, see if anybody else left any comments for things they want us to touch on really quick. We have somebody talk about Pirates, anything in the world other than the NFL. Somebody who left a meme on here, which is kind of funny, I'm not going to lie. And then somebody put Penguins, but yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of early. Penguins open up camp in a couple weeks. It'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. Marc-Andre Fleury not visibly upset by no contract extension offer. Yada, yada, yada. Sidney Crosby did not get arrested in Ottawa. And, yeah, Evgeny Malkin lives it up in Russia in the offseason. That's about all there is to say about the Penguins right now. So, John, final word time. Do you want to go ahead and give yours or you want me to start?
You can go ahead.
All right, I'll go by just saying I'm always negative, but as you see by my name right here, go Ducks. Yesterday, if you follow me on any form of social media, you know by now that I went to Autzen Stadium, a dream I had since I was a little kid to go see the Oregon Ducks play. I blew up everybody's timeline, and I very much apologize. But amazing game. Yes, they played Wyoming, so I know as much as I rip on Pitt for their opponents, at least Oregon played Michigan State last week. They won 48-14. Great experience, great atmosphere, and that's probably the best sporting moment of my life so far. So, yeah. sports do have an impact, and it's a dream I had since a little kid, and I got to fulfill it yesterday, so it was amazing.
Well, I guess mine is just about like the state of sports right now in general. I mean, the funny thing is that a lot of people watch sports to get away from reality, to get away from what's going on in the world, and there's plenty going on in the world to try to get away from if you follow the news at all. Um, but it just seems like I don't know if it's maybe because we've had more issues, so more people have tried to go to sports or try to lean on sports to cheer them up. I don't know, but over the last couple of years, it's just, I mean, the sports world has just gone downhill with all of the issues that we've had. I mean, this Ray Rice situation is just one more thing. The commissioner trying to cover it up. I mean, it's been awful, and it gets really tough to root for teams or for players, as I mentioned before. It's even worse, for a guy like me who went to W&J, which is where Roger Goodell graduated from. I don't know. It seems that the most successful people to come out of there are also criminals, or guys that that seem to find a loophole in the corporate system, much like Mayor Ravenstall, Robert Blake's attorney. Then that's Robert Blake, not the hockey player. But I would I would like to see Commissioner Goodell step down. I really would. I think I just think that we need the NFL needs somebody that maybe can clean up the mess that he left behind. And a lot of people talking about on the field the injuries or trying to wussify the game. I don't really care about that. I just want to be able to sit down and watch a game and not have to hear about all the controversies surrounding a player, all the problems with the league. What is the league going to do? Are they going to try to move a team to London? Are they gonna do this? Are they gonna do that? I would just like to sit down and kind of watch the game and just enjoy the game of football. And it'd be something that, as far as the pro ranks go, I haven't been able to do for a long time. So I'd like to see a new commissioner. And I realize that this rant was kind of scatterbrained, but that's just kind of how I am. Plus, we already talked about Pitt, and like I said, October 4th, there's a massive storm coming. You better bring your varsity team because you're not playing the JVs that week. Peace.
I love it. Some trash talk to end the show. And one quick note: Greg Hardy is inactive for the Panthers, who beat his girlfriend and threatened to kill her, and was already convicted of that. So kudos to you, Panthers. 49ers. The ball's in your hands. Make Ray McDonald inactive and show that you're actually going to take a stand for this, or it's going to continue to happen. Thank you for joining us. Apologize, the show was late. I was short this week, actually. I don't know where Daniel Dudley is. Dee, if you're listening, wake up. It's 8:44 out here on the West Coast. Come on, man. Wake up. For John Penline, I'm Mike Waterloo. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good week, and we'll see you next Sunday.